Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Get some. Hi guys, welcome back to Clare's Kingdom, where we talk facts, walk fierce, and remind the world that well-behaved women rarely make history.
You wake up, house up, run around in it, flossing on it. This diamond, my diamond. This rock, my rock. I woke up like this. I woke up like this.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are talking about that mafia boss energy, like how to enter your villain era. Now, you may be wondering, how does the villain era and mafia boss energy link or intertwine? Well, when you think about a mafia boss, of course, I'm not condoning any illegal activities of any kind, but when you think of the mafia boss energy, you think of power, you think of sternness, you think of, danger, wealth, dark, that kind of thing. And I actually came up with this concept because someone said to me that, especially because I like to wear a lot of like tailored coats and a lot of black tailored coats like that, and they must have said that I was giving mafia boss energy. And at first I was like, what would inspire that? But then I realized that mafia boss energy, it's basically a power, and it can be seen as a more dark power, dark femininity, under the radar power. It's not power that's obvious. It's not power that screams. It's not power that is, typical or typically awarded in the public eye. But a lot of the time when we think of like mafia groups, or always discreet, but when it walks in the room, you feel it. Now, when it comes to talking about how to enter your villain era, I just have to emphasize boundaries. As soon as you step into boundaries in any capacity, you will always be seen as the villain. You will always be seen as difficult. Why? Because you stop being useful to everyone else and you start being useful to yourself. When you get to the point where you're not constantly giving your gifts out, you're not constantly giving your time, your energy, your emotions, and you finally put that back where they're supposed to be, which is in your person, you are going to be seen as the villain. What is a villain? A villain is someone who decides to go against the norm, someone who decides to paint their own path, someone that decides to not allow themselves to be used or pleasing to others, someone that's willing to not be a people pleaser, someone that is willing to not be liked, someone that's willing to stand alone. And the most challenging part and the most easiest part of the villain era is setting those boundaries. And I know, like for me, especially when I was in my deeper people pleasing days, setting those boundaries was terrifying. Like, it got to a point where you'd set a boundary, maybe you would say no, maybe you would say, next time, and then it's like you have that almost adrenaline bodily response where it's like you're shaking because you're scared. But then you realize, the more you do it, you realize, actually, I'm actually safe. Like, there's no danger. Like, I'm allowed to say no. Especially as women, we're a lot of the time taught or conditioned to not say no and just be available all the time. And when you actually break out of that role and you realize, like, whoa, like, how did that happen? Like, how was I convinced that my purpose was just to be of service to people? And there's nothing wrong with being, a servant or catering or nurturing people you love, but out of obligation is a different story. And a lot of women, especially under certain cultural norms, are just expected to be these, maids, therapists, babysitters, chefs, all of that stuff, without them actually being able to realize who they are or walk in their own purpose. And like I said, at first it will feel very uncomfortable, or like you're asking for too much, especially when you see how people, backlash, or how people react to you having boundaries. But then you actually realize that boundaries aren't for people, they are for you. When you set boundaries, people will take it personally, or they'll take it as a personal attack, when in reality, you're just protecting your peace, protecting your peace of mind, protecting your energy, your finances, so you can actually build a life for yourself. And once your cup is full, you're able to pour onto others. And then when we go back to the point of, mafia boss energy, that energy is contained, it's strict, it's powerful, it's heavy, it's unapologetic. And that's the kind of energy, as a woman, when you have that energy, you become unstoppable, because people don't even try. There's some people who they know who to try, they know whose boundaries to test, or who they think they can pull one over. And don't get me wrong, there will always be that one or two people or persons that will cross your boundaries regardless. And of course, you deal with that accordingly. But generally speaking, as a woman, when you walk in with that mafia boss energy, that I belong to myself, I belong to nobody, I'm under nobody's jurisdiction, I'm under nobody's authority, nobody is, when you have that energy, unstoppable. It just gives villain. It just gives don't mess with her. It just gives don't step on her toes. It gives like clear the path. And that energy is beautiful. It's beautiful in a woman. And it's very much needed, especially if you want to be in like the business world, an entrepreneur, or just be a public figure, or just be a person that's well known, or, you know, if you already have a big presence, this energy will serve you well. And especially if you are an ex-people pleaser, or you feel like having boundaries seems a bit extra, just think about the fact that everyone else has boundaries, because one thing you'll realize when you break out of these, good girl roles, you realize that everyone else has the ability to say no. Like everyone else, a lot of the time, people disappoint you. A lot of the time, people leave you hanging. And this is not to, get back at people, but it just proves that most people, especially men, they do what they want when they want, and they don't ask you how you feel about it. They just act accordingly. And as women, we definitely just need to pick up that attitude. Like, I do what's best for me. Like, I've come to a point where if I'm doing something or someone asks me for something, I don't instantly drop what I'm doing unless, it's an emergency and it's someone that, is close to me. And even then, depending on what the task is, especially if it's not an urgent thing, I finish my task before I go and tackle that. And a lot of the time, especially at the first instances, they'll look at me like, I asked you for this. And I'm like, yeah, I said, okay. And then I'll finish what I'm doing. Even if it's me making myself a cup of tea and I get interrupted, I'm going to finish making that tea. I'm going to go lay it and put it on my desk, and then I'll get to you. And having that attitude as a woman is just lethal, okay? Boundaries one-on-one. Being able to complete your task, not allowing people to derail your whole day. Because let me tell you guys, they will try it. They will try it. It's happened to me again and again. And every time I've been able to, strengthen that boundary muscle, because you actually realize, when they realize you started to have boundaries, they're going to try to bring back that old version of you, or try to get you to shrink, or, flip out. Give them that energy, especially narcissists. Like, I literally had a situation recently where someone did something very ugly to me, let's just say. And instead of, yelling, giving my energy, and I literally just said, okay, I did what I had to do. I withdrew my things, I withdrew my energy, and I got on with my life. I got on with my day, and I was better for it. Because you realize, especially when you get to a certain age, people know exactly what they're doing, especially when it's harmful or when it's disruptive or even provoking. Like, people know exactly what they're doing, and it's not your place to tell or show grown people how to act, okay? And yeah, be the villain. That is just my quick version of how to enter your villain era. Create boundaries, focus on yourself, love yourself, have self-love, be self-obsessed. That is just the epiphany of villainhood, okay? Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this quick message. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts. Like, have you entered your villain era? How was it when you first did it? Or are you an ex-people pleaser? I want to hear all about it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
I woke up like this, we flawless. Ladies, tell them I woke up